Okay guys, so I'm about to show you how to do a stop animation GIF or GIF using Photopea. So let's get started. The first thing I need to do is to show you how to download your images. So first and foremost, you take your images using your camera on your phone like this, which you can't see, camera on your phone, and then you can send it to yourself via email like I did, or you can put it into your Gmail or your Google Drive, and ultimately you need to have 3 images. So from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open them. This was the last one that I did. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my talking head. So I go to, this was one that I just recently did. So I'm going to go to my 3 images that I have, and I'm going to press open. So Photopea is going to open up these images, each one by themselves. So you can see that I have 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to consider this my first frame. What I want to do is I want to basically I want these scissors to look like an animal. I just want to do something interesting with these scissors. You can do whatever it is that you want to do with these. So the first thing that I want to do, because I want to make this image look like it's actually on a horizontal plane, I want to have more space that way. I'm going to go to image and I'm going to transform it so it is rotated 90 degrees this way. I just think that will look cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this underscore little a underscore frame 1. That's what I'm going to do. Then my next one, which is the one that's has the angle is not as large, I'm going to drop this bad boy. I'm going to use my move tool and I'm going to bring it over to this guy. Now I can go ahead and rotate him this way, the way I want him to be. Now I'm going to turn this guy off so you can't see him. I'm going to move him down over this way. He's still not a perfect angle, so I'm just going to take a second and do that. So he's not perfect, but that's okay. So what's going to happen is he's going to be on top of this guy. So if I took this guy, you can see that's a little bit of my animation. Now, because I skewed him, he's going to be a little bit different than this guy. You can see that the angle on the table changes a little bit over here. So I'm going to fix that, and I'll fix that later so it doesn't become distracting. Once again, I'm going to take this frame and I'm going to call it underscore a underscore frame 2. Now, the reason why I'm naming them what I am doing, the underscore a underscore, that tells Photopea that this is going to be an animated frame. I am calling them frames because that's how you do it in animation. You typically call them their frame numbers. And then you'll have different files. It gets kind of convoluted with organization, but we are only doing a 3 frame right now, so it's not a big deal. And up to 10 frames should not be a big deal for you. All right, so the next thing that I'm doing is I'm going to take my last frame. So this guy I've already used, so I can exit out of him. I'm going to take my last frame and I'm going to once again drag him to this guy. Now he's on the bottom, you can see that, so I'm going to bring him up to the top and I'm going to transform him. And I'm going to bring him down just a little bit over here so he's like my table. I go ahead and approve it. Next thing I do is I change to underscore a underscore frame 3. So what we've got here, this is the way it will look. And then it will go back. So let's go ahead and just look at what it looks like as a GIF. So I've got all of my A frames. I've got my underscore A underscore for all of my frames. It's looking good. I go to File. It'd be good for me to save this. How I can save it, do you see how it's saving as IMG? I want to rename that to Scissor Creation Moss. Whatever you want to call it, but make sure your name's in it. Now you can see it's changed names right there. That was just by coming up here, and that's how easy it is to rename things. So once the GIF gets up there, you'll be able to see if it's working or not. And you can see that mine is working. You can also change the speed up here so it's faster or slower. You can change the size here. This is such a big file that it's taking Photopea a while to deal with this. So that's where you can really play around with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually crop this so this table doesn't look this way. Now, when I crop this, I'm going to crop the entire canvas, not just one image. So I'm going to go to crop, and I'm going to draw to where I think it looks pretty good. I don't want to get rid of everything. I don't want to get rid of that. So I'm going to go like that. I'm going to prove it. And notice how all of them are now cropped that way. I'm going to go back to export as GIF, see what it looks like now. Once again, it's going to take it a second. I'm just going to edit my weighting out of here. Now you can tell I messed with the speed earlier. Now it's really, really fast. I really don't like that. So I'm going to go back to like 40% of speed. And there is a way to change your speed here on your frames. I'm not going to go into that right now because it gets kind of complicated. But right here, this is where we're going to change our speed. I like 40%. I'm going to repeat it forever. Or I could repeat it 3 times or 4 times or 5 times. But 0 here means forever. I can reverse the frames. So it starts with frame 3. That doesn't really make that much of a difference on this loop since it's so small, but it might somewhere else. So I'm going to go ahead and press save and pretend like this is all I want. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and that's what it looks like. So that's what my original one, that's what one of these, a very, very simple basic GIF looks like with just 3 frames. But that's not all I want to do. So what I want to do is I want to add some to frame 3. So I want to make this a little bit more creative. So what I'm going to do is I can draw on here, or I can using my brush tool, or I can use shapes. I can do whatever I want. So I'm going to play around with this, and then I'm going to show you what happens. Okay guys, so what I decided to do was I decided to put my finger in the scissors, because the scissors look kind of like they're eating something to me. Like if I were to orient it early, like a different way, I could have made it look like it was doing jumping jacks, or I could have put some text here. I can do whatever I want with this, but I chose to use yet another image that I took of my finger. I went ahead and used the selection tools. I used the rectangle selection tool, just copied and pasted it. And then when I got it here, is I took my finger and I used the magic wand or the quick selection tool, went to the refine edge and created that raster mask that we learned to do last week. If you can't remember to do that, watch that tutorial again. So I did that, and then I pressed Control-Alt-G. Once again, Control-Alt-G. And that meant that this just applied to this specific layer, what's underneath it. So this part of my finger, which is smaller, I'll show you what the finished piece looks like. This part only applies to the beginning, and this one in the middle, and this one at the end. So this is my final piece. I could have added like text, a rainbow, shapes, brush strokes, whatever you want to add, make it creative. You can reorient or transform the scissor images so it looks like what you want it to. So that's ultimately what I did. I could go back and I could add adjustment hues to each one of these layers. I can really do some really creative stuff with this. Now, I don't want you to go crazy on this one because the next project is the one where you actually, I want you to storyboard it. I want you to think about what you want to do within 10 frames. You'll have 10 frames. Right here, we only have 3. All right. So with that, I can't wait to see what you do with this project. Bye.